Only thing at the time was I had $4 in my bank account.
Was that your rock bottom?
It gets a lot worse. I borrowed $1,000 from my mom. A scammer scammed me $900.
Shit.
Landed a Microsoft internship. I could have just been preparing for that internship. There's like something calling in my heart. I just had to try this entrepreneurship journey like one last time. I would regret it for the rest of my life.
So if we can go through a process where you teach me giving out all the gems, not gatekeeping any of it, I think it would be very valuable for anyone who watches this.
This is actually proven to make me over $2 million profit so far.
If I could have had this conversation with you 2 years ago, my life would have been completely different. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Cal, the #1 podcast in the world, coming to you today with one of the youngest, most successful online business owners in the social media marketing space. We got Renzo Guevara here with you guys today, and he's going to give you all of the gems and the knowledge that you need to start your own social media marketing agency and scale it to 10K a month. But before we get into that, we're going to break down who Renzo is, how he got to where he is, and make sure he's real enough to be giving you guys that info to start. So Renzo, why don't you just go ahead and say hello to everybody?
Well, first of all, appreciate you, Cal, for getting me on here as the first guest. And yeah, if you don't know me, if you haven't followed me on Instagram or TikTok, I'm Renzo. I run a Instagram marketing agency and consulting firm.
Let's just start by trying to get to know you a little bit more. So luckily, I'm friends with you. We haven't been friends for too long, but it's definitely been a blessing to be in your circle for the time that I have been. You're from Virginia, right?
Yeah, grew up in Virginia, but was born in Houston, Texas.
What age did you move to Virginia?
Like 9 months.
All right, so let's just act like majority of your life you were in Virginia, right?
Yeah.
So this was like middle school, high school, college, all in Virginia?
Pretty much my entire life until 22. And then 22 moved out here to Chicago.
So when you were in Virginia growing up, like what were things like for you from a family standpoint? Did you have siblings? Like what was it like for you growing up, let's say up until you graduated high school?
So I grew up with the Asian parents, so I'm Filipino. So if you don't know about Asian parents, they always want you to study hard, do well in school, go to a good college, and then just work like a corporate job and just make sure you're safe and have income for the rest of your life. So that's kind of the route that my parents wanted me to. But growing up, like I wanted to become like the basketball player, like make it to the NBA, make millions of dollars just playing what I love, which is basketball. And so like every single day since I was like 10 years old, I would like wake up at 5 a.m., get a 5 a.m. workout practicing basketball with my dad, and then I'd go to school. And after school, I would lift weights. And then after I lifted weights, do some homework. And then at nighttime, I'd practice basketball again. Like I would train like literally 3 times every single day, trying to make my hoop dreams a reality. And so I would do that on top of school. And so on school, I was like ranked, I believe, top 8 in my high school. So I was a killer in both sides, basketball and school. But my junior year, I got benched for whatever reason. I think everybody just got more athletic. I couldn't dunk, I couldn't defend, I could only shoot.
Damn.
So pretty much my whole high school life up to that point was all about basketball, and then it was just ripped out and taken away from me. After college, started what we called an agency. And then once my agency took off, could finally do that full time. And then I moved here to Chicago afterwards.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely want to dig deeper into like some of the parts of your story. But before that, there's actually something very special that you mentioned. And it's kind of comes from like, because you're first generation, right?
Yeah.
You're the first generation here in America. I can relate to that a lot because I'm first generation and my father's very old school. You know what I mean? So he was kind of the same. Like they just, the path to success that we all kind of had to believe in just because it's all we knew was be in high school, join a bunch of sports, join a bunch of clubs, get good grades, go to a good college, do well in college, get a good GPA, also join some clubs, build up that resume, get a good corporate job, climb up that ladder, and eventually retire when you're 55, 60 years old, right? Our parents, you know, it's not really their fault. None of this shit existed back then. The whole online space in itself didn't exist. Social media didn't exist. The billion-dollar industry that exists today didn't exist back then. So on the concept of going to school, going to a good college, getting a corporate job, climbing up that ladder, do you agree as to like that's why people are so bought into that now?
I think it's just awareness. So when I was growing up, I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship or the online space. Like all I knew was basketball and getting good grades. And if I had good grades, I would have a safety net to get a job. And if I somehow made it in basketball, I'd make millions of dollars playing in the NBA. Like none of that had to do with entrepreneurship or trying to make money online or being a business owner. Like to be real, I didn't even know what entrepreneurship was or like how to be a business owner until I was like 19. And it was like my first year, second semester. I went to the University of Virginia, by the way.
Okay.
And in that semester, I took a class called intro psychology. Like I didn't even need it. It was an elective. And let's just say your boy was struggling a lot in that class. I was getting like perfect 70s like every exam. Like the whole grades were just based on your exam scores. And so it was like a 70, a 70, a 70, a 70. And then the final exam, guess what my grade was?
I'm sure it wasn't a 70.
I got a 60. So I ended up getting a D plus in that class.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So I remember what I said, like in high school, I was like top 8. So like, this is the first time I like actually
You got hit with
basically
something.
failed a class.
Yeah.
And so at that time, I thought my life was over. I thought my career was over. I thought no company would hire me. And then in that point, like that's when I started looking into like, all right, if I'm not going to get a job, what else can I do? And then I found out about entrepreneurship and the agency model and making money online. And then that's when I dove deep into like, oh, this is actually like really interesting. Like I want to look more into this. So I think for most people, it's just because they're not aware. Like they don't know. Like the only thing we know growing up is what our parents tell us. And of course, our parents didn't grow up in this age of social media online.
Right.
So all they know is just get a job, grind out until you can stack up that 401k and retire.
Right. Yeah. There's like on the topic of sports, I used to work for like a sports psychology company. It was a mental strength training organization. And I'm going to tie this back into the whole parent thing. But basically, like a lot of the athletes we worked with, they didn't respond well to a negative style of coaching. Right. Let's say, for example, a basketball player made a mistake and then their coach started yelling at them to the player, they're just like, man, what the fuck? This guy won't get off my ass. And we used to always tell them that the coach themselves, like internally, this is all they know. You know what I mean? Like if you just understand that they're actually just trying to help you in the way that they think they actually can help you. Like they think that yelling at you is actually going to help you, whether or not that's true. And I think you could tie that back into this whole concept with parents and like old school parents specifically. They just don't know. You know what I mean? Parents, I think, will hold a lot of people back in terms of like doing what most people our age don't do, which is like starting a business, being an entrepreneur, even in the online space specifically. They just don't know. Like none of it existed. When they were your age, whether you're 20 years old or 19 years old, the internet wasn't even a thing, So it's kind of normal, but I want to take a step back. You mentioned like when you were all in on basketball, you thought you were going to be an NBA player. You thought you were going to become a millionaire. You were waking up at 5 a.m. every day before school, getting a workout in with your dad, going to school, right after school, getting another practice session in, basically like doing everything that you possibly could to try to become an NBA player.
Yeah.
So you had this like such a high level of commitment and dedication all the way back then. So number one, I want to ask you where that came from. And number two, and I'll ask you again if I need to, but like, what did you want back then? You didn't know anything about entrepreneurship. Sure, you could say you wanted to be a millionaire NBA player. That could be the answer. But like, what did you want? Why were you trying so hard? Why were you so committed? Why were you so dedicated? What did you really want out of that,
Yeah, for sure. So for the first question, there's like 2 role models in my life. So one, Kobe Bryant.
Kobe
RIP,
Bean.
by the way. He said the reason why he was, dominating the competition, it was like, well, most NBA players, they probably, work out at like 11 a.m., eat lunch, maybe get a lift in afterwards, and then boom, that's it for the day. Like Kobe will wake up at like 4.
Yeah.
Get a workout at 4:30, rest, and then get another workout at 7. Take another break. Work out again at 12. Take another break. Maybe get a lift in at 2. Take another break, and then maybe work out again at like 4 or 5 p.m. And boom, so that's like 5 workouts compared to everybody's 2. And so over a summer, already there's a skill gap between him and the rest of the competition. And over 3, 5, 10 summers, and it's not even close. And that's the reason why he was so successful. So when I heard that, like I just knew like just the amount of work you put in, obviously smart work, but if you put in more work than everybody else, of course you're going to be better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't know where it came from, but I'm just a highly competitive person. So like when I commit to something, like I want to be the best.
Yeah.
Like I don't settle for second place.
Right.
Like nobody remembers the second winner in any sport. They always remember the first. And so I wanted to be remembered. I wanted to be special. Like, of course I want to win. The other role model was actually my dad.
Oh, nice.
So my dad, not really, I mean, he liked basketball, but like his big passion was music. And so like every single day when he was growing up, like he would wake up at like 4 or 5 a.m. to practice the flute. I don't know why he chose the flute, but he wanted to be one of the best musicians out there. Obviously didn't really work out for him, but just hearing that, I'm like, all right, if my dad is working this hard, then surely why can't I work that hard?
Yeah.
So the mix of Kobe and my dad, it just motivated me to be, reach my potential. Like one of my biggest fears is just regret. Like I don't want to ever, fail at something and not say that I tried my best at it. Like for basketball, I have no regrets whatsoever because I put in the work. And even though it didn't work out, Like I knew that I did everything I possibly could. And so I'd rather fail than know that I didn't put in enough work to be able to succeed in it. And then the second question was,
what did you want?
What did I
like,
want?
Yeah, like why? I get it. Like they motivated you and you wanted to kind of follow those same standards. And obviously you had extremely high standards for yourself, especially at that young of an age. But what was your purpose? Like why? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so the biggest motivators for everybody is always pleasure and pain, right? So for pleasure, obviously I wanted to make millions of dollars doing what I love, right? Be rich, you know, travel to all the different NBA teams, be able to play, and just like obviously like live the life that I dreamt of, being famous and rich. So obviously that's pleasure. But the pain side of things was I actually grew up as like a super shy, introverted kid. I would say I never actually had a best friend growing up. Like I would just kind of just be by myself. People would know me as the basketball guy. I'd have friends here and there, but you know, while they're out like partying and drinking, like I was just in the court, just practicing. It kind of just became like my identity as well as like an excuse why I wasn't like talking to people. I'm like, all right, well, if I don't really have that many friends to talk to, I might as well just play basketball instead and be really good at that. So it's kind of a mix of both, just wanting to be rich and famous, but also just, you know, I just didn't really have that many friends growing up because I didn't know how to socialize back then.
Got you. That makes a lot of sense. And I think it's very powerful. But the only reason that I was asking that is because obviously like you were able to commit so much and dedicate yourself so much. And we're not even talking about business yet. We're talking about basketball. But the reason that I wanted to emphasize that is because anything in life, whether you're that 13-year-old kid who wants to become an NBA player, or you're that 21-year-old kid who wants to build a successful online business, or you're that 50-year-old dad that wants to do something great for their family. If you don't have a strong enough purpose, none of that matters. That's my opinion, you know, like hard work, determination, commitment, none of those things will ever matter without a strong enough purpose. And your purpose sounds like it, to me, it was like number one, staying true to your potential. Like you never wanted to have any regrets that you could have done more. And number two, in a certain sense, like following after your role models and seeing that, look, these are the guys that I want to be, right? Like Kobe Bryant being the best, not better than LeBron, but we'll talk about that in a bit.
Hot take, but okay.
But yeah, you had like a very strong purpose. So things started to translate for you. You said like right around that junior year mark, kids start dunking this, that, and the other, and you're basically just like, oh fuck, like this isn't it, right? Tell me about that moment. Like was that a big turning point in your life? Because it sounds like basketball was everything to you. You know what I mean? So what was that like for you? Was it a distinct moment? Was it a longer period of time? When did that transition happen, like in your own frame of mind?
It was a very specific moment in time, actually.
Okay.
So kind of like the context, like I said, my sophomore year, I was the only kid in my grade to make it to the varsity team. There's no freshman on the team, no other sophomores, just me. And I was low-key killing it. I was like sixth man on the team and I was doing good. And so I had like all the confidence in the world going into that summer. I'm like, all right, if I'm like the only kid in my grade, like there's potential I could go to college. Like this is sweet.
Yeah.
And then I just remember the first preseason game of my junior year. Obviously it's junior year now, so a lot more kids in my grade made it to the team. I thought I would be starting. Like I thought I would at least be, you know, sixth man again, whatever it is. Guess how many minutes I played my first year, or no, my first game, that preseason game that year?
Maybe 10?
I didn't play anything.
Zero.
Like 0 minutes. And so I think my coach forgot about me or whatever it was, but I just remember like sitting on the bench watching all these kids who I used to be better than, right? They were in the JV team and I was in the varsity team the year prior. And I just remember all of them getting so many minutes, scoring, dunking, shooting threes, all that. And I'm just sitting in the bench with my warm-up shirt, my takeaway pants, and I'm just like looking like, damn. Like
what the fuck just happened?
I think like this, like I hope this isn't it. But then the next preseason game, same thing. And then the whole year was pretty much the same pattern. I would get like 1 to 2 minutes during like garbage time when like it was blowouts. So at that point, I'd say my first preseason game, like I knew like basketball is probably going to be over after the season.
So then let me ask you this, like obviously you mentioned like you were always good at both ends. Like you had a high level of education. You know, you were in the top 10 of your class, but you never really mentioned any like passion towards the education side. And you also didn't know anything about entrepreneurship at this time. You just realized that like your dream of becoming an NBA player is going to have to be replaced with something else. Was there a second passion right off the bat for you? I know what happened in that first year of college with the psychology class, but before that, you put basketball to the side, you're going to college. What was your plan? What was your passion? Or was there one in general?
So I have an older sister. She's 2 years older than me, and she grew up to become just a software engineer, like a coder.
Nice.
So I'm like, all right. So my sister did well in school, you know, got a job, you know, is in University of Virginia. I'm like, all right, I'll just follow in her footsteps because I don't know anything else. My parents are like, get good grades, get a good college, get a good job. And I saw my sister do that. And I'm like, all right. So I might as well just do the same. So I'd say that transition period from quitting basketball to eventually learning about entrepreneurship, I just did what my sister did because I didn't know anything else.
I got you. Okay, so now like you're leaving high school, right? You did fairly well. Why did you stay in Virginia? Was that kind of just like slated from the beginning, or was there options there? You knew that you were going to go to the UV, University of Virginia?
Literally, I just saw my sister do it. And I would visit my sister in college sometimes. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm already familiar with it. It's a good school. Save my parents some tuition money. So
okay.
I would say the biggest factor is familiarity. And then also because I wasn't really that passionate about, going out of state. And I knew my parents weren't exactly the most financially well off. I just thought, let's just save them some money, stay in Virginia.
I got you. Okay. I have a few questions before we get into like the tail end of your story to where you became a business owner, right? Because we're getting very close to that. So at this point in your life, number one, like, have you ever worked a job before?
I've actually never worked a in-person job before.
Okay.
So let's say I tried to interview for American Eagle back in the day. I think my junior year of high school. I don't think I said the right things in the interview, so they didn't hire me. And then I got hired as a computer science instructor my first year summer. We'll get into the story as well. Let's just say on day one of that job, so that was the only day I've ever worked in person. On day one of that job, I was running my own business at the same time. And I think my boss just saw me just always on my phone working on my business, then like looking at the kids. So he just pulled me aside at the end of the day. And this is summer 2019, by the way. And he was like, Renzo, I could tell you're not really that passionate about what you're doing. And I could tell like you're not really into this. So like, I'll just do you a favor. And unfortunately, like I gotta let you off.
Got you.
And then I'd say the next 2 summers after that, I was a intern at Microsoft. So that was all online because of COVID, unfortunately. Yeah. So everything was all online. Like I never ever worked a in-person job before.
You were making no money then going into college, like your freshman year of college, like you were broke, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. I mean, like there were times my friends who were a bit richer than me at the time, they would invite me for drinks. They would invite me to go out to dinner, go make this trip. And I couldn't come because I was like, dude, I have no money. Like I can't come.
Damn.
I just got to stay in my dorm room because I got no bread.
Yeah. Okay. So no money, right? You're also like missing out on a bunch of shit because you're broke. But besides for that, like I know that in high school, your social life was in a certain sense non-existent. What did things look like for you from a social standpoint, like going into college? So you just started, let's take some steps back in your story, start from fresh. What did your social life look like in that first year? And was it very different from what your social life was like in high school?
Once I quit basketball, I had nothing. Like I just had my grades and I barely had that many friends. So like after I quit, I realized like, damn, like I need to start making some friends. I need to start hanging out more. So I just, forced myself to go out there, meet more people, talk more. And something that helped me was just like, I think back then I was always like scared, like what would people judge me on? Like, are people gonna, talk shit behind my back, all of that.
Yeah.
But the big switch for me, like I randomly watched this YouTube video and it was just this person saying like, if you're shy, just speak with no filter. Just say whatever comes to your mind. And if people like you, great. They're your real friends. And if they're not, they weren't your real friends in the first place.
Yeah.
And so once I heard that little switch, I was like, it can't be that simple.
Yeah.
But then, I tried it. Just started speaking with no filter. Just whatever comes out of my head like this right now. And I just started making a bunch of friends, started becoming a bit more extroverted than introverted. And I would say by the time college came, I was already like fully into just speaking whatever's on my mind. So making friends in like my social life wasn't a problem in university. In UVA, it was like pretty much the exact opposite of high school.
Got you. I'd like to actually pause on like your story and talk to you about this for a bit because I think it's something a lot of people struggle with. And it was probably like my biggest struggle up until literally this year. And it's caring too much about what other people think. That concept is something that I see so many people struggling with, whether they're extremely successful and they have a shit ton of friends or they're not. You know what I mean? For me, for example, like in high school, like I was always considered like one in the popular group of kids. But at the same time, what a lot of people didn't know is that sure, like I might have had a lot of friends and shit, but all I cared about was what other people thought. So it put me in a position where like instead of just being true to who I was always a different character depending on what I thought the person I was trying to please would want to see or would like. When in reality, I was just building up this character that like most people could just make fun of or laugh at, Because no one's ever going to truly respect you, in my opinion, unless you're true to who you are. And what I would do is like, I was always just out of pocket, like trying to make everybody laugh, like going above and beyond, class clown, like that whole bullshit, like stereotype to someone that's just caring too much about what other people think. Why do you think some people, or I won't even ask you why, but more importantly, like if I'm an individual who cares so much about what other people think to the extent that I'm changing who I am to try to fit what I think they would like, what do you think I could do in that situation to try to like step away from that and just be who I am?
I know why, by the way. So it's called the mirror of life. And I didn't really fully internalize this until like end of 2021. Before then, I was still like pretty shy, still a little insecure. But what really helped me out is kind of like what I said. So the mirror of life goes as follows. So like anybody like judging you or hating on you or talking shit behind your back or whatever it is, like it's never actually about you. It's just an insecurity on their part projecting onto you, right? It's a mirror. And the mirror of life also works the other way, right? So if you're super shy, you're super insecure, you care so much about what other people think, it's probably because you're doing the same. Like you're judging other people. You're talking shit behind people's back. You're making fun of people. Then of course you're gonna be insecure about all those same things.
Fuck.
So like once I learned to like truly love like every single human being on this planet and not judge them and just truly learn to accept them and not be triggered, like that's when I stopped becoming insecure. And I don't know if you see my Instagram or like any of my videos, but I do a lot of weird things sometimes on Instagram. But the reason I could do that without being scared, like if people are gonna think it's dumb or, you know, people are gonna talk shit about it, it's like, I don't care because I don't judge any people. So like, I know like, because I'm not judging, I'm not gonna be insecure about me doing anything online.
Yeah, fuck man, that's extremely powerful. I mean like, I almost have goosebumps because like if I could have had this conversation with you 2 years ago, my life would have been completely different. Just thinking about that mirror of life and more importantly, like not the front side of it, but the back side of it, the second part to it that you mentioned when it comes to it working both ways, you know? So like those are questions that somebody who feels like they care too much about what other people think can ask themselves. Like, look, if you're insecure, like how much are you looking at others and judging what they're doing, even if you're only judging them internally, right? I think that's something that's something that a lot of people can utilize when they are judging people without spitting it out to the world. So for example, like if someone walks into a room and you start to judge them internally in your own mind, you can stop and ask yourself like, fuck, why am I thinking this way about this person? Like, what am I insecure about that's leading to these thoughts? I should just have an open mind and love everybody for who they are.
Exactly.
You know,
like one of my first business mentors ever, like that was an exercise we actually did, was just like, what are you most triggered by other people? And then like once you're aware of it, then just be like, why are you triggered, right? Like what are you insecure about forcing you to judge other people on?
Yeah.
And then once you become more aware, then you can fix it.
Yeah, that's big time. All right, so back to where you were. So like at this point, you get into freshman year of college. Did you join a frat or anything? Like I know you said you were making friends very easily, but like what was it like for you getting into the college life?
I did join a frat, but I eventually dropped it once I started fully running my online business. And we could get into it in a bit, but let's just say like a lot of my fraternity brothers weren't really supportive of what I was doing. And this is back when I still didn't figure out the mirror of life, so I was still a little insecure. And so a lot of my fraternity brothers would talk shit, talk behind my back, you know, question what I was doing on Instagram and my business. So had to drop it. Yeah, I couldn't let those counter intentions from other people pull me back.
Me personally, I'm sure you've seen, like I just recently started posting reels, like trying to build my personal brand, starting with this content game, trying to build my own business. And I think one of the hardest things you'll deal with when you start doing that is that all of the people that are surrounding you, whether they've been surrounding you for a month or even years, like for me, for example, I just started doing this maybe a month or 2 months ago, and all of the people that I thought were my so-called friends for the past 2 to 3 years, they're the ones that are like laughing at it. Yo, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is hilarious, this, that, and the other. That's probably, I think, that like beginning portion of trying to get past all of that hate in a certain sense is where most people stop. In your situation, if you cared more about what your frat brothers were thinking of you and saying about you, if you cared more about that than you did about your purpose and what you were trying to accomplish, you would have just stopped, right? You would have just been like, fuck, like I need to be cool so that I can stay friends with these guys, and you would have just stopped doing what they were making fun of you for. Anyone who tries to accomplish something big in life is gonna encounter that. Nobody will ever want for you what you want for yourself. And that's one of the hardest things to realize in this life. What I also think is very interesting about that is that, like, honestly, I'll use you as a fucking example, dude. Like, I've been friends with you for what, maybe 3 months now? Somewhere around that range.
We probably met like 2 months ago.
2 months, right? When I started doing everything that I was doing, which mind you, like, is definitely not at the level that you are, but I hope to be at one day. You were one of the people that were like, yo, this is awesome. Like, keep going. Like, you have a shit ton of potential. Like, this is great. Someone that's doing 10 times better than I am. Someone that's shitting on me, literally. Versus someone that's doing way worse, someone that's not doing anything that I would ever want to do in my life is laughing at it and be like, bro, you need to cut this shit. So like always look at the people that are giving you advice or any type of feedback on what you're doing and ask yourself, like, are they even doing anything you'd ever want to do? Are they in a position in life you ever want to be in? Are they doing better than you? And if they're giving hate, most of the time the answer to that is no. When you initially joined the frat, like how far were you in your freshman year when everything happened with this psych class? Was it first semester or second semester?
Yeah, so in the University of Virginia, you join a frat like your second semester. So you're not allowed to join your first semester. So like, it's honestly happening all at the same time. Took a psychology class, was pledging a fraternity that same semester. So it was all that second semester, the spring semester at UVA.
Got you. Okay. So like you took this psych class, you were getting 70s all throughout the way, ended up failing the big exam. I want to like zoom in on this moment in your life and talk about all the details because there's this very big concept that I want to talk about, but you said earlier you thought your life was over. So talk to me more about that. Like take me back to that time and tell me what happened, how you were feeling, like what you were thinking, what was going through your head, and also what was going on in your life, like with your frat buddies and everything else.
Yeah, so this was actually beach week. And beach weeks, by the way, is just like everybody in college just goes to like, example, in UVA, we all went to Myrtle Beach in North Carolina. And so this was like beach week, second semester, or after my second semester at UVA. Like right after college was done, boom, everybody went to the beach. And so grades came out like toward the end of that beach week.
Fuck.
And so my girlfriend at the time, I guess my ex now, she was a lot smarter than me. So like when she got her grades, she was like A's, A pluses, A's, A's, A's. She was like, Renzo, what did you get? And then I was like looking at my grades and I was like, yeah, A's, 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 A's. And I look at the bottom of the report card and it was a D plus.
Shit.
So it's kind of embarrassing. And then when I told my mom about it, obviously she was disappointed in it too. I just thought like, okay, well, I guess college and this whole getting a job thing isn't meant for me. And so I just started like looking at YouTube videos because I'm like, all right, not gonna get a job. What else can I do? And I randomly came across a video by Sam Ovens. He's, side note, founder of School Now.
Fucking beast.
Promosi's biggest investment yet. But at the time, he made a YouTube video that said like the 9 things he wished he knew when he was 20. And one of the points was, unless you're gonna become like a doctor, accountant, lawyer, engineer, like college is completely useless. You're gonna go tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. You're not even guaranteed a job. Once I watched that video, I'm like, okay, I don't want to be any of those things. What else should I do then? So then I came across this thing called SMMA, which stands for Social Media Marketing Agency. And a bunch of YouTube videos were talking about how you just had to learn Facebook ads or Instagram ads and then run it for business owners and they'll pay you like $2,000, $3,000 a month. But the only thing was all these gurus like on YouTube, they wouldn't give like their best stuff for free. They would just kind of tease at it and then get you to buy like their $997 or $1,000 course. Only thing at the time was I had $4 in my bank account at that time. Like there was a time during this period, the same exact period, like me and my girlfriend at the time, we went out to eat for Chipotle. I could not afford a bowl of Chipotle.
Damn.
And I would say that was probably one of the most embarrassing moments in my life, was just you know, telling my girlfriend at the time, like, I can't afford this. Like, we can't do it.
At Chipotle, bro. Not even like fucking Gibson's.
Exactly. So like, if I can't afford a bowl of Chipotle, then how in the world am I going to afford $1,000 course? So I just took action anyways. And I tried it. Like I knew I didn't know enough, but let's just try it anyway for free and see how it goes. So I started like cold emailing a bunch of business owners. Didn't get a single response. I sent thousands of emails, no response. Started cold calling, and I eventually landed a couple in-person sales meetings. And so
locally to where you were in Virginia?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was targeting like local gyms. And so I remember my first in-person sales meeting. I dressed up in a suit. I don't know why. My mom was clowning me. I was like, you're going to a gym. What are you doing? But I dressed up in a suit and then I drive to the gym. You know, I had a good talk with the business owner. Like we were sitting in like chairs like this, just having a conversation. And then he was like,
what were you trying to pitch him? Do you know?
I was just trying to sell like a free trial for Facebook ads.
Okay.
And I just learned it on YouTube. I was like, all right, let's just try it. And unlike most people who were like, I had to like be perfect at this, I had to master ads before I could sell it. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to learn by doing it. So let's just land a client and then see how it goes. And so we had a conversation. He was like, yeah, let's do it. I'll give you my phone number. So I'm like, I'd say less. I got a free trial client. This is easy. I'm going to make thousands of dollars. So I text him when I drive back home, or after I drove back home. Don't text and drive. Once I'm back home, I texted him and he just left me on red.
Fuck.
And I'm like, surely he's like busy, right? A day later, still leaves me on red. A week later, still on red. So I'm like, all right, well, I lost that guy. Let's just keep going. So then I started cold calling real estate agents. Got a real estate agent in person, had a conversation like this. He's like, yeah, let's do a free trial. Go back home, text him, and boom, same thing.
Ghosted you on.
Left unread. And then eventually, after doing this over and over and over, I'm like, I'm not going to stop until I at least land a client so I could at least say I did this.
How long has this been? Like, how long was this process?
I would say this has been a month in now. So I started in June, and now we're in like July 2019. In July 2019, this lawyer finally gave me the chance. And he was like, all right, let's do it. Let's set up the ads, and let's see how it goes.
Who's paying for the ad spend then?
They do, but I do it all for free. So like I do all the managing for free. So I landed that guy. And then very quickly I landed this other restaurant owner too. And then very quickly I also landed this make money finance guy.
And this was all through just cold calling your ass off and just fucking trying to get these in-person meetings with them?
Yeah. So I landed 3 free trial clients all at the same time in the same week. So I'm like, all right, we got some progress here. Only thing was I didn't have like the right strategies on how to run ads. Like I was literally just watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And of course, all these YouTube videos pitch courses at the end to actually, teach you how to run them. So I'm like, all right, I'll just figure it out by myself. I remember just like the day, like I pulled out a Google Doc trying to write the ads for my clients. And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then I didn't even know if I should run videos or pictures. I just got some like stock images online and just ran ads for them. And let's just say after a month running ads for all 3 of them, I didn't get any results. I didn't know what I was doing. And because I didn't make them any money, I lost the money with ad spend. They yelled at me and we just cut ties because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, they were pissed, huh?
So by this point, it's like August 2019. I made no money. I failed 3 free trial clients. I'm like, all right, well, college is coming up. I can't really do this in college. It's a huge time commitment right now. Yeah, I gave up my first summer in 2019. That was like my first taste of the agency experience, and I made no money.
All right, so let's pause here because like there's a lot of important lessons here, like virtues even. Because number one, like you did this for 3 fucking months and you ended up with zip. You ended up with jack shit. If anything, like you ended up with people mad at you and yelling at you and probably even less of a qualification or credibility than you had before. But what I want to talk about here, which is extremely important when it comes to anyone that wants to start fucking anything, literally anything, whether you want to run a marathon or start a business, you have to just take action. That's so fucking important because like, what if you were like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna, which is what most people do. All right, fine. Well, then instead of starting my agency, I'm going to just wait until I can afford a $1,000 course. And then instead of starting my agency, when I buy that $1,000 course, I'm going to make sure I learn everything from it. And then I'll start, actually doing shit. That's what the problem is, I see at least with a lot of people, is that they are holding themselves back from taking action. And I think the psychology behind that is that the human brain will always look to protect itself from like basically depreciating in terms of like the capacity that it has, right? So the human brain will always show you a safer option than taking action, which is like learning, right? But taking action is where the brain actually gets put into work. And that's why internally, like a lot of people will be held back from that. But I just wanted to highlight that even though we haven't gotten to the part where you've made a single dollar yet, you taking action is what made a difference. So I want to ask you, 3 months, 0 results, maybe even negative results. But what did you learn? Like, do you remember like coming out of those 3 months with any type of learning experience?
The thing is, I did make progress. It's like, it's not like I didn't land a sales meeting. It's not like I didn't land a client. Like I could like taste money. Like it was like literally right there in front of me to grab. I just obviously choked it. But I was like, okay, well, clearly like 3 months ago, I had no idea what this model was. And now I'm like so close. It's just like the only thing, it's bad timing because I have to go back to college. So the biggest thing I learned is that, entrepreneurship is real. Like, this is definitely a potential avenue. Obviously, because I didn't see results, I didn't think like I'm not the type of person to be able to do it. It's just, I don't have the skills yet. I just have to keep working on my skills to be able to get there. Right. So for me, I was kind of like excited. I was like, even though I gave up, like I knew I could taste it. Like it's almost right there. Right. So when I had this next opportunity, like I'm going to take advantage of it and I'm going to make sure that I actually make money out of it. So I would just say just like potential. Yeah.
So like you knew that experience like made you realize that it was real, because had you known how to run ads effectively, those would have been your first 3 clients, right? It was just that you weren't able to produce results for them. That's how you know someone's fucking real, man, is that like they actually need to produce results for someone. And obviously those people were all on free trials, so they weren't paying you for anything yet. But that's where you realize like this is real. Like I can actually do it if I had the skill set for what I was offering, those would have been my first 3 clients.
Exactly.
Would you say that you hit rock bottom at that point when you saw that D+? Was that your rock bottom?
It gets a lot worse.
Okay. All right. Fuck.
So,
well, let's get into it.
I would say
then.
rock bottom at the time, but it gets way worse than that.
Let's get into it then. So it's August. You're getting back into school. You just failed your ass off for an entire summer. What's next?
I still had no money, and honestly, like at the time, my dad was telling me, stop this. Like at the time, I was like paying for this thing called like LinkedIn Sales Navigator and this thing called Leonard. I think it's called Alfred now, but it was basically like $100, $200 a month to just like automatically reach out to prospects. And I wasn't getting any results from it. And eventually it was starting to like run my bank account like super dry.
Got you.
So at that point, my dad was like, just stop wasting your money. Just focus on school. You know, I know we don't have a lot of money right now, but like once you get a job, like you'll have enough money. Just stop this. But did I listen to him? No. So I started listening to the podcast because I was like, starting to get into personal development, and I came across Gary Vee's podcast. And at the time, Gary Vee was talking about how you should go to garage sales and flip stuff on eBay. And so I tried it. I eventually convinced my mom it was a good idea, and I borrowed $1,000 from my mom.
No fucking way.
And let's just say a scammer scammed me $900
shit
on eBay. Like, I don't know how it happened. I just like got taken advantage of during a desperate time. And then the worst part was like I had to tell like my mom and dad, like, not only did I fail this agency experience the summer before, but now I actually lost like almost $1,000, $900 in this second entrepreneurship attempt.
Damn.
So like, I think you could imagine that FaceTime call of me FaceTime my mom and dad. Like they were very disappointed in what I was doing.
How did you feel?
So by this point,
about yourself?
I'm like, okay. Remember when I was talking about potential? This is the exact opposite. I'm like, all right, everything online is a scam. All these people teaching how to make money online, how to run a business, all these people trying to help people make money. Like it's all a scam, right? Everybody's just trying to take advantage of me. Like I'm done. Like I'm just going to live my normal 9-to-5 life because I don't want to lose any more money. I don't want my parents to be disappointed anymore. Like at that point, it was quits.
Yeah.
And by that point, I had negative $40 in my bank account. So I was actually in debt at that point.
Fuck.
So yeah, at that point, it was just like the lowest point of my life. And I just thought like, all right, I'm done. Like I'm just going to live my normal life because I can't be doing this anymore.
You see what happens there though is that like because of like all of the because you kept getting smacked in the face, man. Like fuck, dude, I've been in those situations where like you're just trying to do something good. You're working on yourself, you're just trying to do something fucking good, and then all you keep experiencing is just a slap in the face after a slap in the face after a slap in the face, and it breeds this dark feeling inside of you where you're just like, man, you know what? Fuck this. Fuck everyone. Fuck everything. I thought I could be this big bad entrepreneur. Like, fuck it. I'm just gonna be normal. And that's sad, man. Like that's that point right there. You either choose that path or you choose the other, right? It's kind of like the Matrix when Neo has to choose between 2 pills. I think this breaking point for a lot of people is where you either succeed or fail. But like, what's most important is that there's so much failure up front. Especially when you're trying to learn, like when you're not already good at anything. And you have to break through all of those phases of failure to reach that phase of success. It's kind of like that meme. You ever seen that meme where there's 2 miners in the cave and one of them stops like right before the diamonds and then the other just keeps going all the way through? It's kind of like that, but like there's so much dirt that you have to go through before you get to the diamonds, the gems. You know, you honestly just have to stay true to yourself. And like, I think purpose is what can propel a lot of people through those phases. Man, even recently me, like I'm trying to do this podcast, trying to do my personal brand, transitioning out of my current role, exploring other opportunities. Sometimes I'm just like, man, fuck, like, should I just give up on all of it and just be normal? Because at least it would be simple and I wouldn't be tweaking every fucking day. Like, what do I need to focus on? What do I need to accomplish? But let's keep going to see how you broke through that. So at this point, you're at rock bottom, lowest point of your entire life. Everything you've tried has failed. You've lost your parents' money. You've lost your own money. You have negative $40 in your bank account. You have nothing to show for what you've done over the past year. Then what happens?
You also have to think about this. Like, it's easy to, look back on it and think it's like a good story. But at the time, like, I didn't know I would be here. So
yeah,
like, at the time, I was like, well, clearly this entrepreneurship thing isn't cut out for me. So I just lived my normal, college life, just saving money, not trying to spend anymore. And then fast forward a couple months later, this is like March, April 2020, like something called COVID happens. And so all my college classes were all online. And, you know, I could have been working on like a computer science project or work on my resume. Oh yeah. And side note, by the way, right before I got scammed $900 by a scammer on eBay, I landed a Microsoft internship. Like I used my SMMA experience that following summer, told some stories in my interviews, and boom, landed an internship like that. So that was what I was working toward. I'm like, all right, this whole entrepreneurship thing, it's not working out for me. I'm just gonna work at Microsoft and be rich that way.
But you landed that gig because of what you did.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's an important piece.
A couple months later, like I said, it's COVID. My Microsoft internship's about to start around May. So like I could have just been preparing for that internship. But like, I just knew there was like something calling in my heart. Like I just had to try this entrepreneurship journey like one last time. And there was like this saying I heard on YouTube. It's like, for 60, 70 years from now, like, what do you want to tell your great grandkids what you did during the great coronavirus? Like, do you want to tell them you were scrolling on TikTok and Instagram all day? Or do you want to tell them you built a 6 to 7 figure business? When I heard that, like I knew I had to try entrepreneurship like one last time, or like I would regret it for the rest of my life. So I did things the right way this time. I was following this guy on Instagram, and he was talking about how the reason why a lot of people in the agency space, they're not really landing clients is because they're cold emailing or cold calling. But both of those are just random emails or a random voice from a cold call. Yeah. So of course people aren't gonna trust you. Yeah. So he started talking about like just using Instagram and sending messages that way. I tried that route by just sending DMs to prospects, but I just kept getting left on red. Like I sent like over like 5,000 DMs and I didn't land a client still. And I'm like, not again. This is about to be the third time and I'm still not gonna make any money. And so I was about to give up. But at the time, I became friends with like 3 of my closest entrepreneur friends. And one of them is actually my business partner to this day. And they all told me like, it's not about, you know, posting every day or sending thousands of DMs, but it's about like the first impression when someone comes onto your page. Like, does someone think your Instagram page is a scam, or does someone think your Instagram page is legit? Those first 3 seconds. And so at the time I had like 200 followers. I was like following like the Gary Vee podcast style with like the headline, the 2 people, and then like the captions in the bottom. And just overall, it like looked like a scam. So I'm like, that's why I'm not getting responses, is because my page looks like shit, basically.
Your Instagram page.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so then my 3 friends, they taught me about like Instagram shout outs, where like you have an influencer of like 10 to 15K, or an influencer of 1 million to 20 million followers shout out your page. So I did that, got an influencer to shout me out. Then I got 10 to 15K real engaging followers that way. And then I just got a photo shoot. It was like a cheap photo shoot from Airbnb Experiences tab. And I got like 6 to 9 pictures, posted all of those on my Instagram feed. And then boom, now I had a solid Instagram page. I had the followers, I had the engagement, I had some quality pictures. And then when I started reaching out to business owners on Instagram, landed my first $2,000 client within 3 days, and then hit 10K a month my first month. Just like that.
Damn. All right, cool. All right, so now we're getting into the juicy part. So before we talk more about like how you scaled your success after that first month, you revitalized your credibility, you start actually bringing in clients, you get to 10K a month before that point, right? Because we're going to have to talk about what things look like for you as soon as that started happening, which I know that feeling, man. When you first start making money, you've never made money before, shit changes like immediately. It's almost like your sight changes.
Yeah.
Like how you literally see things in the world. Throughout this entire process where you kept failing, you kept trying, nothing was working, I know your parents were disappointed, but like what was going on in you like when it comes to your surrounding environment as you were trying to get to this point where you finally started seeing success?
There's actually one last low point in between my first $2,000 client and then hitting 10K a month.
Okay.
So I landed my first $2,000 client. I'm like sick. Like finally, it's been like a year and I'm finally making money. Like
they paid you.
Yeah, this is sweet. Like this is all profit, by the way, because they pay for their own ad spend. So I'm
okay,
like, all right, $2,000 in the bank. Let's go. But then for whatever reason, like something was just holding me back. Like throughout those next 3 weeks, I just didn't land another client for whatever reason. I was still sending the same exact DMs. I had the good first impression, but for some reason, like something internally was still holding me back. And at the time, by the way, you also have to put this in perspective. Before I started this Instagram journey, like I had like pretty much the perfect college life anybody would want. Like I had a Microsoft internship lined up. I had a year-long girlfriend at this point. I was in a frat. My social circle was huge. Like I had like the dream basically.
Yeah. When
I started posting on Instagram, those 6 to 9 pictures, like people started like talking shit. Like a lot of my fraternity brothers like, what is this guy doing? Is he running like a pyramid scheme? Like what's going on? Yeah. And then like some of my closest friends, like I thought were my friends, they were also talking shit behind my back. And so like very quickly, like I found out like who my real friends were and like who weren't.
Yeah.
And so even my girlfriend at the time, she's more of like a 9 to 5 girl. Like she wasn't really supportive either. She was like very insecure about everybody talking shit. And she wasn't really proud of what I was doing. So yeah, like I had a lot of like counter intentions holding me back. The next 3 weeks after I landed that first $2,000 client, I didn't make any more money. And so like all those thoughts of like everybody talking shit started getting into my head. And at this point, let's break it down. Like 3 weeks later, I had a sales call with like this pretty famous dating coach. And I promised my girlfriend at the time that we would have like this date like later on FaceTime, whatever it is. Let's just say that sales call went overtime. Like she was giving me objection after objection after objection. I was handling it like a boss, like a king, like I thought. Yeah. And then she just said no, like I can't do it. And so now I lost the sale and now I'm late to my girlfriend's FaceTime date at the time and she was mad at me. So then at that point I just broke down. I'm like, I'm putting in all this work. I've only made $2,000 so far. All my frat brothers are talking shit. All my friends are talking shit. And I'm like, did I just like ruin like my perfect life right here? Like what's going on? You know, when I told my girlfriend at the time that, she was like, just quit. Like you shouldn't be doing this. And then a lot of my friends were telling me to just quit. I think one last thing was my dad bought a trading course. I looked at the reviews of that trading course and a lot of it was bad, saying it was like a scam. And I'm like, damn, like I think like everything online is just like a scam again. Like my dad bought this course that's, you know, not really that great. All these people are talking shit. I've only made $2,000. And so I was about to give up. Like genuinely, like that was probably my lowest point in entrepreneurship. I don't see where this is going. Like I've ruined my whole life. Like what am I gonna do? Randomly, I met this clarity coach on Instagram and she just hopped on a call for free. She was like, I see what you're going through. Let's just hop on a call and I'll help you out. When I hopped on that call, I just explained everything. Like I'm just gonna give up. Like my life's over basically. And she told me 3 things that really stuck out to me. So one is she told me like, pick a word to define yourself and make that 100% you. So I guess what word I picked?
At this point?
Yeah.
Entrepreneur?
I picked value. Like I wanted everybody to know me, to just know that I give value. Like I just give free game. Like anybody who talks to me, like I just help them out 100%. Like no gatekeeping whatsoever. Like on Instagram, like I want to give my best stuff. On YouTube, my best stuff. At the time, like anybody who DMs me one-on-one, like I would give my best stuff. Like I just wanted people to know me strictly as a guy who gave everything without expecting anything in return. And so that was 1. 2 is she told me to cut off anybody who doesn't fully support you because counter intention is kill, right? So at the time I had like a lot of frat brothers talking shit. A lot of my friends at the time were talking shit. So I just cut all of them off. And then of course my family wasn't that supportive either. So of course I can't cut off my family, but you know, I wasn't like talking to them as much. Like I wanted to just lock in and only listen to people who actually were supporting me at the time.
Yes.
And then number 3, the last tip is just like everything in life is never something that's been done to you. It's something you learn from, right? So everything I was going through at the time, from getting scammed $900 by a scammer on eBay, like failing my first SMA experience, all these people talking shit, that's not really being done to me, but something I'm going to learn from and be able to take advantage of in the future.
Yeah.
So once I learned those 3 things, I'm like, okay, this all makes sense, right? The reason why everything's happening to me right now, it's not because my life's over, but it's like a stepping stone for me to get to the next level.
Right.
And so after I had that conversation, literally the following week, my 4th week that month, you know, I landed 4 more $2,000 a month clients and then hit 10K a month.
And you dropped all of your frat brothers that were talking shit. Did you break up with your girl?
I couldn't break up with my girl at the time. I didn't officially drop my frat until a couple months later, but I just muted all the group chats.
Yeah.
Anybody who texted me that didn't support me, like I wouldn't even open it.
I'm kind of in that phase now, you know, which is really interesting. But yeah, I mean, I started posting on social media, started trying to build my personal brand, and like my intention, I'm not trying to gloat, but it's always just been pure, you know, like I don't necessarily have a specific angle to my content yet. I'm sure you can tell, but like I'm literally just trying to share what I know that I think like other people would value from. But the people that see you doing that you think like are closest to you are the ones that are going to shoot it down. And I just think to myself in those situations, like I literally just sit down and visualize I've already accomplished everything that I've been trying to accomplish. I'm a millionaire, this, that, and the other, right? Would it even make sense for those people to still be in my life? Even if they never talked shit, like put all that to the side, but just look at who they are and ask yourself, like, you're the person that has accomplished everything you've set out for yourself as a goal. Does it even make sense for that person to still be a part of your life? Most of the time, the answer is no. And that's why they're talking shit. Let's keep going. So like you've cut out all that does not serve you in your life. And then what happens from there?
I'd say a couple months after that, it was just more consistent 10K months. And then a bunch of people on Instagram who, you know, I was like pretty good friends with online. Like a lot of them saw me go from struggling to making a bunch of money. And they're like, what are you doing? Like, I literally saw you like struggling, making no money, about to give up. And now you're making all this money. Like what happened? Like, can you teach me? So a bunch of people started asking me for help. And I was like helping people one-on-one. And I'm like, I just don't have time for this. Because keep in mind, by the way, I'm still interning at Microsoft while running this agency. And so I had no time to actually like help people.
Yeah.
And so I started this thing called the IG Secrets 30-day challenge.
Okay.
And it was like a 30-day challenge where I would have everybody in this big free Discord. I think there was like 200 people the first month. And like I would just host a live call like every single morning before I started my Microsoft.
And this was free?
Yeah, all free.
Wow.
All free. It would just be every day, Monday through Saturday. And so that was like unheard of at the time because nobody was doing that for free. Like everybody would just, you know, charge courses. And I was doing all this live, by the way.
Were you thinking about like how, because remember all the times like you talked about like, fuck these YouTubers, like they're not giving me the info that I need. They're just trying to sell me this course at the end of it. Like this eBay guy that scammed you, like in your process of approaching that idea, like was a part of it trying to just be different and like change that piece of this industry where like everyone's just trying to gatekeep and get people's money for what they want to teach. Like you were giving it all out for free. Like, were you thinking about that or was it just naturally from who you were?
So remember that one word I picked for myself. It was value. And so like, I just lived by that. So like, of course, all these people wanted my help. And I didn't want to say like, I didn't have time or like, sorry, I'm too good for you. I'm not going to teach you. Like I would just like, okay, like I still want to help you. I just don't have that much time. Like, how can I do it all in like a organized manner? So like, that's when I started doing like the 30-day challenge back then, was just to help everybody at once so I could still make an impact while still being able to save my time.
Take care of everything.
I did that for 2 months. So I did this around July 2020 and August 2020. I actually started my own podcast at the time back then. And so my first podcast episode was like right before I ended that 30-day challenge. And I was talking about like, what direction do I want to take with this? The challenge is, if I say so myself, was damn good.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
The people who actually did put in the work, they saw great results. Like they were landing clients, they were making money. But a lot of people, I would say like 95% of people like never actually did anything. They didn't do it because it was all free.
Right.
And so I started to realize like if I keep doing this for free, like not as many people are going to take it seriously and not as many people are going to see results.
Because they didn't have skin in the game.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm actually letting people down like if I don't actually help them. Right. And so at the time as well, you know, my partner, Ibrahim, like, we were pretty close.
Shout out Ibby.
And so we were talking about like, why don't we team up? Right. So you have this huge, like, or not huge, like obviously not as huge as it is now, but like you have this good cult-like following with you. And I got more experience like actually providing services and like the whole business side of things. So we eventually decided to team up with what we call Growthology Agency Today, where we do basically exactly how I came up, right? Like where we help people get that Instagram shout out so that people have the real engaging followers to have that credibility. Like we help people get those quality photos so that, you know, they have that first impression on their profile. And then we do consulting to show people how exactly to land clients exactly the way I did. And so we started charging for it. So at the time we charged $1,500 and then $250 every month after. And then boom, like we just started taking off right after that, scaled to like 7 figures within, let's say like a year and a half. And then fast forward to today, 4 years later, agency makes like about 105, 130K a month in rev, over 100K a month in profit. Last month we did 157K.
Let's fucking go.
It's all just panned out just like that.
When you first started making money, like when you first started making that 10K a month, you weren't far from having negative $40 in your fucking bank account. And I'll never forget my first like, what is it, 5-figure month? Where you're making like money online. What was that like for you? Like just having money for the first time ever and not just having the money, but like having the freedom that the money comes along with. What were the first things you spent it on? Like what did things look like for you? How did your parents react? How did everything change? Because I know it did.
Yeah. I still remember my first purchases once I started making money. I remember at the time in college, like I really wanted AirPod Pros. I wanted Ray-Ban sunglasses and I wanted like a big ass JBL speaker, but I was too broke at the time, so I couldn't afford any of those. And so they were like expensive to me at the time. And I finally had the money. I'm like, all right, let's just spend some money and let's get those. I think I still have those AirPods to this day. And I still use those sunglasses to this day, but it just felt like real freedom. Like I finally am tasting the fruits of my labor. Like I spent a whole year like not knowing if this entrepreneurship dream would work. And then finally, like I could finally see it paying off. And then also like not that summer, but the summer afterwards, like I finally got to travel. This is summer 2021. Like I went to Seattle, LA, New York, Miami, Austin, Chicago at the time before I moved here. Like I finally got to travel to all these different places without having to worry about like my bank account.
Yeah.
And that was like the real true taste of freedom, was like finally being able to just work wherever I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want, without even having to think about it. So I would just say freedom. Like I finally could see all the hard work, all the people talking shit, all my frat brothers talking shit, my girlfriend not supporting me at the time. Like all the things that I said was like, this is not being done to me, this is something I learned from, was finally something I actually learned from and got the result.
And how did it impact like the relationship you had with your parents? Obviously, like they were never sure of what you were trying to do, but they, in a sense, still supported you because they loved you, but they were just disappointed. How did things start to change? Like, and also, did you just go back and say like, guys, like I hit 10K a month? Like, what was that like for you with your parents?
So I kept most of this like a secret. So obviously, like I say it now because it's part of the story, but I wasn't really telling people how much I was making. I was just like, yeah, like it's okay. Like I
do a little bit of marketing, doing Ibby's thing.
So nobody really knew I was making money until I started traveling like the next summer.
Got you.
I was still interning at Microsoft. So I interned at Microsoft summer 2020 and summer 2021. By the end of summer 2021, I was given my return offer to work full time. And by this point, I was already making like double or even more than that in profit with my agency compared to my Microsoft salary.
Right.
And so I just show my parents like, here's the numbers with my business, and here's the numbers I'm going to give with Microsoft. It's just like the logical choice. Let's choose this option because I'm making more.
Right.
And so by that point, if you think about it, like I already achieved like my parents' dreams already, right? Like I got into like one of the best companies in America.
Right.
Right. Like I had a whole offer lined up. So I already achieved everything my parents wanted me to. It just made logical sense now because I'm making more with the agency. Just go that route instead.
Yeah, that makes sense. You finally started seeing success with your agency. One of the biggest things that I want to highlight here, which is why I think you and Ibrahim are like two of the realists in the space, especially when it comes to SMMA, is that you practiced what you preach for a very long time. You didn't just practice what you preached. You practiced it to the point in which you were able to reach a level of success that most people with agencies dream of reaching before you try to start teaching people how to start their own social media marketing agency. But now to get into the good stuff. This is an option. You don't have to agree to it fully, but I'd love for someone to have the opportunity to, just by watching this podcast episode, be able to start and scale their own social media marketing agency. So if we can go through a process where you teach me how to do that while we're sitting here, giving out all the gems, not gatekeeping any of it, I think it would be very valuable for anyone who watches this. You think you're down?
Nah, buy my $1,000 course. Nah, I'm playing. I'll give all the sauce for free. Don't worry.
All right, cool. So let's start. Like right now, I'm just an individual. I just got out of college. None of this 9-to-5 shit's for me. I want to start, but I don't know where to start. What's the very first thing that I should do?
Basically, the key to any business is that you can't like come up with the product or service. Like everybody wants to think of like the next Apple or the next iPhone or the next whatever, big invention. But that's not how real world business works. Like real world business comes from solving a problem in the market. And I'll get into how this ties into the agency space in a bit. But don't come up with an idea. Find a niche, like a group of people you want to help, and figure out what their problem is. What is a niche, by the way? A niche is a group of people we want to help. And so why do we want to target a specific group of people instead of targeting everybody? Like think of like a neurosurgeon versus a general practitioner.
Yeah.
Right? A neurosurgeon makes like $370K to $1.1 million a year average. Right? A general practitioner only makes like, I say only, but $180K to like $300K per year. It's like who gets paid more?
Right.
The neurosurgeon. Why? Because like they're more specific. So they actually are an expert in their field. And also number two is like they eliminate the rest of the competition because they're only focusing on this specific, expertise.
Right.
So we want to do the same thing in business. Like we don't want to compete with everybody because there's like 8-9-figure agencies targeting everybody. Like we want to be very specific. So we eliminate competition and we get paid more because we're more specific on who we help. So that's one, is just pick a niche. So
what if like I agree with you entirely? Like I have to pick a niche, right? Because I don't want to be too broad, but I don't know how to pick a niche. Like there's a lot of shit that I like too, but like I'm probably thinking that I want to make sure it's a profitable niche. I want to make sure it's a good one. Like how do I even pick a niche?
So there's just 3 keys. Like, do you like them? Can you help them? Can they pay? Like any niche that fits that criteria, like you're good.
All right.
Just move on. Like one of the biggest mistakes a lot of beginners make is they spend like a week, a month, 3 months trying to pick the perfect niche. But even if you were to pick the wrong niche for 3 months and you actually took action, kind of like I did when I first started, like you're going to learn so much more through those experiences and failures than trying to stay stuck where you're at picking the perfect niche.
Okay.
So like literally like anybody watching this pod, just pick a niche and move on. And I know some people are lazy, so I say it all the time, like what's working right now is online trainers, like people who teach fitness online, business coaches, dating coaches, or anybody who sells an online course.
Okay.
One of those four, pick one of those and move on. Like don't get stuck in that scenario.
What were the 3 keys again to picking a niche?
Do you enjoy, you know, who you're helping?
Okay.
Right. So for me, like I liked fitness, so I targeted trainers at the time.
Okay.
2 is, can you help them? This is not as important because I'm going to get into that in a bit, but do you have like a general idea of how you could help this niche?
Okay.
And then 3 is, can they pay? Because obviously we don't want to work with people who can't pay us.
So I'm going to pick fitness creator for my niche just because I like fitness. I think I can help them because I think a lot of them are struggling, honestly, with just monetizing in general. Like most of them, a lot of I see a lot of fitness people like blow up on social media, but sometimes it's more based off of their looks and they're not really like monetizing it in any way. And obviously they can pay because like most of those people are making money off of their fitness training or whatever they're doing. So I'll choose fitness, but okay, now I have my niche. What's next?
Yeah, so let's optimize that niche a little bit since that was the niche I picked. So one, we spent $1,000 a day on ads back in March of 2022. So the name we found resonates the most is online trainers. I don't know why. It's just like what they resonate with the most. And then 2, like you're not going to say this like publicly, but the people you want to target is online trainers who have a side job. So they have income coming in and they can actually pay for these things to invest in their business. Or they're an in-person trainer or maybe an online trainer and they already have clients. So there's income coming in. Like you do not want to target somebody just starting a fitness course because they have no bread.
Right,
so like you got to be very specific on who you're targeting.
Okay, and when you say targeting, like how am I targeting these people based off of those filters that you mentioned? Like,
there's a couple of things you could do. So on Instagram, luckily, compared to cold emailing or cold calling, like you could check their profile. Right. So on their profile, if on their story highlights, they have testimonials, it means they have clients, which means they have income coming in.
Okay.
That's 1. 2 is a little sneaky, but like you could look up their name on LinkedIn and then see if they have a job on LinkedIn. Cool. So those are the 2 ways you could see if there's income coming in. So that way you're not wasting your time messaging prospects who don't have bread.
Right. So, okay, at this point, like I've chosen a niche that's not too broad. I've optimized the niche, which in other words means like, you know how to
just making sure
like
you're not
your
wasting your
messaging
time.
there has to be like optimized enough so that I'm actually attracting them. So you found that like online trainers was the verbiage that resonated with them the most. So I picked my niche. I've optimized my niche. I know how to target them. What's next?
So step number 2 is, like I said, you don't want to come up with an idea or a service or a product because a lot of people think like, should I run like TikTok ads, Meta ads, Instagram ads, SEO? But the problem with that is you don't even know if people want that. Like you're just like literally copying what everybody else is doing. So when people say like the agency model is like saturated or like it's not working in 2024, it's of course it doesn't because you're copying what everybody else is doing. So of course you're just gonna be competing with everybody else. So the way to make this like not saturated, so you're not competing with everybody, is go problem first, right? So what you actually want to do is ask, example in our case, online trainers, like what is their biggest challenge in their business, right? So how do you do it? I would just give some free game. Just look up online trainers on the search bar on Instagram, find anybody who looks good, and then just DM them like, hey, I'm not trying to sell you anything. Put your credit card away. I'm just doing some market research for online trainers so that I could actually help these people actually grow their business. Would it be cool if I asked a couple questions and in return, I'll give an XYZ free value in exchange?
So what type of questions are you asking?
All right, so there's 4 things we want to ask. What is like their biggest frustrations in their marketing right now, right? So like, why can't they market better, right? Just whatever it is, just ask what is their frustrations. 2 is we want to ask their fears, right? So like, why does it suck? You know, if you're not able to figure this out, like what happens if you don't figure this out? So now you know like their deeper fears, and I'll go over all the answers in a bit. Number 3 is once you figure out the fears, what are their wants? Like what do they want to achieve in their business? Like what are their goals? And then 4, what are their aspirations? Like what do those goals give them, right? So I'll get some free game. All right, obviously don't copy this exactly, but for my online trainers, like what I found, their biggest frustrations was they couldn't land clients or land more clients. They couldn't really grow on social media. They had a hard time like getting exposure, getting followers, getting the reach. And also number 3 is like they had a hard time like selling. Like they weren't that good at like converting, you know, people who were interested, right? They would just sell like maybe like $10, $20 fitness products instead of $2,000, $3,000 fitness packages. So that was the frustrations. Fears. A lot of them were scared they were going to run out of money. They'd have to go back to a 9 to 5. or if they already have a 9 to 5, they would be scared that they would be stuck in their 9 to 5. They would also be scared that they wouldn't be able to afford a future family. Like they would just be stuck in this life and never be able to afford like a wedding or being able to, have a honeymoon or whatever it is, or
like
have
make
a kid.
a living off of it.
Yeah, exactly. So those were their fears. Let's go to wants. Wants, they want to hit 10K a month. A lot of them did. They wanted to land more clients. They wanted to be able to, have consistent, predictable income and just know that income will come in every single month, because entrepreneurship is very unpredictable for trainers. And then finally, for aspirations, like they wanted to live a life of freedom, do whatever they want, whenever they want, with whoever they want, be able to travel, be able to provide for their family, be able to support their loved ones, right? Be able to retire their mom or dad, or whatever it is, right? So like once you know those things, now you could use that, in your marketing. Because think about it. If you show that you understand someone's situation and everything they're going through better than they can themselves, they automatically conclude you have the answers, right? So example, if you're my prospect, if I show I understand everything you're going through, like all your problems, your fears, frustrations, like everything going on in your life, it doesn't even matter what I sell. Like you're just going to automatically think like, damn, like this guy actually gets me. Like he must know what he's talking about. Like I need to buy whatever he has to buy.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people fall short with outreach, is they try to talk, like they think that they're supposed to talk more about like what they're trying to offer or themselves or whatever it is. But the easiest way to build true credibility, and not just credibility, but trust at the same time, is by genuinely trying to understand the person that you're trying to help.
Exactly.
Right? Like you didn't have to talk about how well you've done for other clients or all of the things that you're ready to do for them. You simply just ask them questions to understand their situation, maybe even better than they did. And that alone built up enough credibility for them to trust that you were the one that could also offer solutions to those problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big thing in sales that I see as a mistake, is like, you don't have to talk about you or what you're offering at all. You should just talk about them and understand their situation and just see if you can actually help. At this point, I've chose my niche. I've optimized my niche. I've learned how to conduct market research so that I know how to basically optimize my messaging so that it resonates with them. And then now what's next? Like, do I try to get clients, or how does that work?
Pretty simple answers. It's just like whatever their biggest frustration or the biggest one is, like you want to come up with a service to help them either solve that problem or achieve that goal. So example, let's say they lack clients or they lack leads. You could run paid ads for them. Let's say they lack time, you could do social media management or run their DMs for them. Let's say they lack exposure or followers, you could run a short form content agency where like you help them script their videos, they film their videos and then you edit them and then boom, right? You help them get followers, right? So for us, like with that market research I just gave you, we just found, all right, they wanted more clients, they want to hit 10K a month. So what did we do? All right, so we got our Instagram shout outs. We shout them out so they have credibility. 2 is we showed them how to take their own quality photos or their quality workout videos. And then 3, then we started showing them how to, 1, actually reach out to potential clients and get them to buy their services, or 2 is get people to come to them through Instagram DMs and be able to sell them that way.
Yeah, I think the services piece is actually super, super key. But it's also extremely interesting because like, you don't have to choose like, are you going to be doing website development? Are you going to be doing paid ads? Are you going to be doing organic growth on social media? It's almost like you can't choose what they want for them. It's just you see what they want and see if you could provide a service to, like you said, solve their problem or reach their goal. And that honestly like saves a shit ton of guesswork and time for the person who's trying to start the agency, in this case, me, because I don't have to worry about all these different services I could offer. I just have to worry about what do they want, and that's the service that I offer. Now, when you're helping the individual, in this case, again, me, like have a credible profile, obviously it's very simple. You said you could go on Airbnb experiences, find a cheap photo shoot, get some good pictures up. How does the Instagram shout out thing work? Like how do I mean, shit, I might honestly do it for myself. Like how do I find someone to shout me out to help me like grow like a loyal organic audience? How does that actually work?
Yeah, so luckily for me, because I was in that iMessage group chat with 3 of my closest friends, like they had connections, so they just found an influencer for me. Right now in 2024, it's a bit harder to just reach out to influencers, so you had to work with agencies kind of like mine. It's kind of what we do now, where we have all the connections and we get an influencer shout you out. So it's really just through agencies or just knowing connections.
Got you. So like building your network.
Yeah.
Now I'm at a point where I've optimized my own profile so that I'm a credible individual.
Yeah. We're not at that point yet. Don't worry. Okay. So we have our service ready, right?
All right.
So now that's when we set up the profile and all of that. If you want, you could DM me the word grow and I'll get you all the details on how to set up an optimal profile through shout outs. But if you don't have the money for that, then no need. There are people who've landed clients without the followers. It just takes a bit more time.
Right.
But bare minimum, right? If you have like at least $50 to $100, go to Airbnb.com, go to experiences tab, get a cheap photo shoot for like $50 to $100. And then boom, now you have all these high quality photos you could use. And then for the captions, either write your own captions or just chat GPT some entrepreneur captions and boom, you're good. Keep it simple. And then last but not least, just make sure your profile says what you do. The bare minimum on your profile should at least say, I help niche get result. And result, by the way, is whatever they said their biggest want was. So example for mine, it was 10K a month or land more clients through, and then whatever service you provide. So if you do paid ads, say through paid ads. If you do short form content, say through short form content. Whatever service you're providing, like that's what you should have in your bio. I help niche get result by service. So that way, when prospects come onto your page, they know exactly what you do. And then when they scout your page, they can see like, okay, this guy's actually legit. He knows what he's talking about. Let's do it.
Yeah. So like I help online trainers.
I'll give an example of mine. So example mine was, I help online trainers hit 10K a month by growing a client generating Instagram. Why?
Nice.
Because their biggest wants were to land more clients, and they wanted to grow their Instagram. So like we just combined it to grow a client generating Instagram. Right. Boom. So now when a trainer looks at my profile, they're like, holy shit, like this guy's exactly what I'm looking for. Like I want to hit 10K a month. I want to grow my Instagram. I want clients to come to me. And so now like a lot of the heavy lifting's done. Like I already resonate with exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah. All right, let me ask you this piece. So like I've gotten to this point where like my profile is optimized. I have the credibility, at least to the extent that I could have. I've chosen the niche. I've chosen the service. At this point, am I ready? Like I start doing outreach to a bunch of people and how do I like actually get clients from there?
So once your profile is set up, then you got to start reaching out. Because at this point, you know, maybe you have the followers from the shout out, maybe not. But at this point, you don't have a true audience yet, right? So people are not going to come to you like they do for me right now, right? You gotta hunt first. All right, so just look up your niche on the search bar. So example for us, it's trainers. It could be online trainers. You could look up online personal trainers. You could look up trainers in general. There's a bunch of different variations. Just look up one of those variations and then either on hashtags or on the search bar, right? There's going to be a bunch of prospects to look out for. So what I recommend as a beginner, don't target anybody who has more than 10K followers.
Okay.
Because
they probably just want to answer.
They have too many DMs, they have too many followers, and now you're probably just going to be a drop in the ocean. Right?
Yeah,
you want to target people, ideally less than 100 followers, if not 1,000 followers or less, if not 5,000 followers or less, and max 10,000 followers or less, right? The less followers, the more likely they're going to respond because they have less DMs to choose from.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's simple, stupid.
And like we said earlier, just to make sure we're not wasting our time and they actually have money, just make sure to check out their story highlights or their post. Do they have clients already? Or look up that same name on LinkedIn, try to find profile pictures that match and see if they have a job. Right? If they don't have one of those two, you're wasting your time and they're not going to have money.
I got you.
And then how do you reach out to these business owners? All right. So you just follow them, like and comment on their last 3 posts, and then DM the word, hey. All right.
Damn. Can I get a girl like that, or this only work? All right, well, my bad.
We can get into that in a bit. It's kind of similar, but
got you.
All right, but basically, why do we do that instead of just DMing? If you follow, like and comment, like and comment, like and comment, and DM, that's 8 notifications right there. Versus just 1 notification if you just DM the word hey.
Okay.
Right. So who's gonna get better response? Someone with 8 notifications or 1 notification?
So you follow them, slide up on their stories, like and comment on their most recent posts, like probably not their pin posts, right? Because those are the ones that are like old or flooded. So like like and comment on their most recent posts, slide up on their story, and then DM them hey.
Yeah, and then make sure the comments are genuine. Don't just say like, love this or killing it. Like actually make comments about what the video or the picture is about, just to show you're a real human and not some like AI robot.
Right.
And then once you DM the word hey, then they're probably going to respond back with like, what's up or how's it going and all of that. All right. And then by the way, like the DM framework I'm about to give you, like this is not theory. All right. This is actually proven to make me over $2 million profit so far. Like I've had
So it's the exact way that you DM'd the clients that you got to take your agencies to $2 million a month, a year profit.
Yeah. And I still do that to this day. Like
Same
we don't
exact
stop
shit?
this. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So this is not theory, because every time I show this to somebody who thinks it's theory, they're like, I don't think this will work. I'm like, bro, I'm not saying like this could work. I'm saying this has made me lots of money.
Till this day.
Yeah, to this day. So once they respond back with hey, what a lot of people go wrong with is they try to pitch the service right away. Like, hey, like I'm going to get you a lot of clients. I'm going to get you, you know, ads or short form content. But like we were talking about in dating, like this would be like asking, like walking up to a girl and like asking her to sleep with you like right away. Like it's not real. Like unless you have Riz, like it's just not real.
It's
right?
just not gonna work.
And it's the same thing with our prospects. Like why are our prospects any different? They don't even know you. Like why would they buy anything from you? Right? So you got to be a little more smooth with it. Like you got to have what we call business Riz, right? You got to like warm them up to you. All right, so
it's not Renzo Riz, business Riz. Okay,
we call it biz Riz or sales Riz.
Biz Riz. Let's get into it.
All right, but let's keep going. So once you respond back like, hey, what's up? Then we want to figure out like their situation. All right, so I'll just be like, hey, awesome to connect. How are things on your end, by the way? They're gonna be like, I'm good. Like, what about you? And then we want to figure out their goal. All right, so I'll be like, I'm doing good. Are you working towards anything specific for your business right now? They're gonna be like, I want more like clients or I want more leads. Then we want to figure out what they need help with. So I'd be like, cool. And what do you feel you need the most help with right now to achieve whatever they said? More clients and more leads. Just spit back word for word exactly what they said. They'd be like, like I really want more exposure or followers. Then suggest a call. I'd be like, cool. Want to hop on a quick call to see if or how I could potentially help you get more followers and exposure so you could land more clients? Would that help? Boom. So do you see what I did there? So like it's super smooth. Yeah. Not pushy, not salesy. Just want to hop on a quick call to see if I could help with whatever they said.
Right,
like
with what they said they wanted help with, right.
Because remember, the biggest rule of sales is like if a prospect feels like you understand them, they feel like you have the answers. So just spit back word for word what they said. If they say yes, then just say like, cool. It's cool if I give you a quick IG audio call right now. So 2 things about that. Why do we say IG audio? Because if you use your personal phone number, then 1, you're giving out your personal phone number. But 2 is if you're calling somebody from another country, whether
the UK or something like
Canada,
that.
UK, New Zealand, whatever it is, you're gonna have to pay for international fees.
Yeah.
I know most people watching this do not want to pay for that. So IG audio is all Wi-Fi. So you can call people all over the world. And honestly, it feels safer to most people because you're on the same platform.
Right.
So now they don't have to give their personal phone number either.
Yeah, true.
2 is we have the call right now because the closer you go from call booked to call taken, the more likely they're gonna show up and the more likely you're gonna close. It's like the quote, strike when the iron's hot. Right? If you wait like a couple days, a couple hours, a couple minutes, whatever it is, it's not your fault, but they're going to forget about you because you're some random stranger on Instagram, right? And people's attention spans are so short that if you don't get to the point right away and have the call right then and there, they're going to forget.
Yeah.
Then the next thing about this is a lot of people in my industry, they teach like a 2-call sales script where you have like this 15-minute discovery call where you ask a bunch of questions. And then you have like this 45-minute strategy session or demo where you actually pitch your services. That's very outdated, and that doesn't really work in 2024 anymore. People's attention spans are super short. Let's just do some math real quick. Industry average for these calls is 70% show up rate. So 7 out of 10 times. So if you have a 70% show up rate for the first call and a 70% show up rate to the second call, that's a 49% chance they're going to show up for you to pitch them.
So you're
compared to a 70% chance if you just had a 1-call sales script.
So you're just selling yourself short.
Yeah, like you're literally shooting yourself on the foot if you're doing these outdated 2-call sales. All right, so instead, when you're on a call with a prospect, you have to close them like right then and there.
Yeah.
Right. And most people aren't skilled enough to do it, but I was able to find a framework that worked for me that helped me do it. All right. And like I said, this framework I'm about to give people, this is not theory. This is proven. All right.
So this is what you do like on your sales calls now. It's the same framework you're following.
Yeah. When I was still posting sales call videos, like this was the exact same framework I was still given.
Okay.
9 stages. All right. So number 1 is you want to build rapport. Right. And rapport just basically means just show you're human, not some like AI robot on this sales call. Right. And so don't ask them like, how's the weather or what's their dog or how's their dog like or what's their favorite baseball team. Just ask how's it going and where they're from. All right. So just hop on this call real quick. Like me and you role play. I'll be like, hey, is this Cal?
Yeah, this is Cal. Is this Renzo?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How's it going, my brother?
It's going good. It's going good. How are you?
Oh, cool. I mean, you know the drill with me. Just been onboarding clients all day. Only gotten 4 hours of sleep. But I'm a little curious, Cal. Where are you from?
I'm from Chicago.
Let's just make it different for me as an example. Like, oh, cool. I'm based in Virginia. So, hey, not the same state, but similar vibes for sure. And then boom, get right into the call. So do you see that? It's just really quick. Show you human, and that's it.
How do you transition into it, like from that point on the call to get into like the actual call, you know?
Yeah, we're gonna get into that. So step number 2 is set the agenda. This basically just means you wanna let the prospect know exactly what's gonna happen. Because if you don't, then the prospect's always gonna have this elephant in the room, like, why is this guy asking so many questions? Is he gonna sell me something? Is he just trying to help me? Is this just like a friend conversation? Like there's all these questions the prospect has.
Yeah.
So you wanna address that right away. It's kind of like, let me ask you, like if a homeless person walked up to you, with a black box and a hole in it. And he said, stick your hand in this box. Like, would you stick your hand in that?
I would run my ass away.
Yeah, everybody would. But let's just say same person has a clear box and there's $1 million inside, right? Would you stick your hand in that box now?
Fuck yeah, I'd steal the box.
Of course, because you know exactly what's in the box. It's the same thing on these sales calls. You just have to let a prospect know what's going to happen. Again, role play real quick. Cool, Mr. Prospect. So is it cool if we just get right into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
That's sweet. So how these calls usually go, I'll just ask you a couple questions, see if I could even help you in the first place. And if I do think I could help you out, I'll just try to offer how it works and everything. You just have to give me a definitive yes or no at the end of the call. Sound good?
Sounds good.
So do you see what I did there? So one is I let the prospect know I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. So there's no elephant in the room. Two is I said, if it's a good fit, I'll let you know the offer and how it works. So now the prospect knows I'm going to sell something at the end. And then three, I asked for a definitive yes or no.
So they know what they signed up for.
Yeah. Right. So now the prospect's always going to be thinking, should I buy or should I not? Not, I'm going to think about this and wait for this later. Right. So a lot of people who struggle with the think about it objection on sales calls, you just have to give a definite, you have to set the expectations up front, like make a decision on this call.
Right.
And you don't want to obviously force it, but just give me a definitive yes or no at the end of the call.
Right.
Boom. Keep it nice and chill.
Nice. Yeah. So that way they're not like thrown off guard or by anything. So then let me ask you this, like, let's say I close these guys, right? So like at this point, like, let's just say it's my first client. One thing I'm curious about is like, I closed my first client. Let's say, for example, what they needed was, they wanted like help short form social media management, but also like scripting, editing, filming for those videos. Like they needed help with organic growth on Instagram, right? And I pitched it and I closed them for $2K a month. But like, I didn't choose the service. I just followed your instructions. Like I didn't choose paid ads. I didn't choose SEO. I didn't choose website development. I just did what they wanted, right? And I pitched it and I closed them. But like, what if I don't know how to do what they want, right?
Yeah. So if it's a free trial, then you're going to kind of have to just learn on the fly. Luckily, YouTube videos are a lot better now than it was before. But if you actually close them for real money, we're talking at least like $1,000, $2,000 a month. Like you could outsource the work right away.
Oh, okay.
So one is you could just go to Upwork or Fiverr and just look or just post, or even in my free school community or in different Facebook groups, whatever it is, just Upwork, Fiverr, Facebook groups, or free school communities, just ask, hey, I'm looking for a white label agency for XYZ niche. So example, online trainers.
Damn.
With ABC service, right? With, example, for your case, organic social growth or organic short form content.
Damn.
And then boom, a bunch of white label agencies are going to come to you saying I would help. And what is a white label agency, by the way? A white label agency is basically, let's say a client pays you $2,500 a month in profit. All right, so I take that $2,500, I pay another agency $500 to do that service under my name.
Oh,
so like
wow.
they work for me as my agency, but they're providing the service for the client.
So you're not even doing the work at that point.
Yeah, it's just other people do the work for you.
Right, and you manage it.
A lot of people ask me like, one, like why wouldn't the white label agency just, talk to the client directly? Two reasons for that. One, sorry about that. One is that the white label agency doesn't actually have to get the client. Right? It's just a client handed to them in a silver platter. So they don't have to spend money on ads. They don't have to reach out to prospects like we did. They don't have to spend time, energy, or effort with projection. It's literally just a client handed to them.
It's just fulfillment.
Yeah. And then two is that the agency could be good at like service delivery, like ads or SEO or content, whatever it is, but they might not know the sauce I'm giving you right now. Right? Without this sauce, it's really hard to land clients for most people. Right? So that the white label agency knows not to contact the client directly because they would make more money doing it the right way.
Right.
And then the client doesn't contact the white label agency directly because the client doesn't even know about the white label agency in the first place.
Right.
And now people ask me about ethics, but it's a win-win-win on all three sides, right? The client wins because they see an ROI from their investment and they solve their big problem. The white label agency wins because they get clients at scale. And three, you win because you profit without basically doing any work besides landing the client. So now you can land more clients. So that's kind of how the world works now, right? I saw a fact like, I think it was Google, like outsourced their whole support team for the longest time, and nobody knew about it.
Damn.
Right? So like even the biggest companies in the world do this to this day.
Yeah.
Right? Like Fritos, they're a white label company, right? It's some other chip company, they just package on Fritos on top of it.
Have you ever ran into an issue where like you outsource it? What if they do a shitty job?
So my theory on all of this, and like it's kind of served me the best. If a white label agency is able to sell you on their results, then they're probably going to be able to deliver for your client.
Results,
so you got to be your most skeptical prospect when picking these white label agencies.
Okay.
So example, I'm always looking at results, testimonials, like what is their experience? Can I contact their previous clients? If I could do that, then I know they're legit.
Yeah.
And that's the way you should do business at all times, is always look at results. If they have results, if you could actually talk to their clients, then this is probably someone you want to work with.
Right.
Like
So
that's
you
why
just got to do due diligence.
Yeah.
Like you can't just choose it.
even for my
randomly.
agency, right? Like on my story highlights, like I tag all my clients and I show up the date of every client win. And nobody else in the industry could do that.
Yeah,
and I could tag them because I actually delivered. So I know they would vouch for me. And I show up the date because I literally have new clients winning every single day that I don't have to reuse old testimonials like everybody else. So like proof is the biggest factor in anything in an online business.
I think it comes back to just like that one word you mentioned, value, and like it's impossible to give value and be valuable without also being genuine. And man, I mean, holy fuck. I mean, that's a wrap. I mean, dude, at this point, number one, I'm thinking about dropping everything and starting a social media marketing agency because I feel like I know exactly how to do that now. But what if someone like, you know, watching this video, I feel like number one, if I did start taking action today, as soon as we shut the cameras off, I can actually see a tremendous amount of progress, right? Because shit, you gave it all to me. You gave me the keys to the castle. But like, what if I need more and I want it specifically from you? You know, like, how does that work? I know you talked about like, I can just DM you and stuff, but like, what if I have specific questions about everything that we went over, from getting someone, getting a client, closing a client, servicing the client, even scaling? Like, how can I get more from you if I wanted it?
So there's 3 routes we could go. So one is, I remember when I started, I had negative $40, as we talked about, and I had like no money to like invest in help at the time. So I made a free course. I talk it all.
You're
all
still
the time on
fucking
my
doing
Instagram.
this, huh? Just like you were back then in the
Yeah.
community.
Obviously, I don't have the time to like actually do these live calls now, but I like it. There's still like it's still recorded, and I'm able to give it for free.
Yeah.
So if you want that free course, I don't know which camera I should look on. I'll probably look at that one. Just DM me on Instagram at Renzo_Guevara, the word cash, and I'll send it to you ASAP. So that's one.
For free.
Yeah, for free. All I ask is like, once you kill it, comment on one of my Instagram videos or comment on my Instagram live if I go live and just tell me your results with it. So that's one. 2 is kind of like you said, like if you have like specific questions, because obviously it's not a one size fits all. Everybody has different scenarios. I do host a free class, at least in this current moment. I don't know how long I'm going to be doing this, but at this very moment, I do host a free class every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So just, you should be able to find the link in my Instagram bio. If not, the link is just class.growthologyagency.com/register. And I'll be able to give more in-depth help. Like this is just like a quick preview. But I go way more in-depth on the class, as well as they have a live Q&A session at the end where I'm able to answer people's questions specifically. All right. And then finally, number 3, if you want to like work with me directly, and keep in mind, we only work with people who already have an offer. So if you're a complete ground zero beginner, just come to the class. But if you do have an offer and you don't need clients yet, you could if you want. But as long as you have an offer, you know what you're selling, and you want to work with my agency directly to get that shout out, get that quality content, land more clients, then just DM me at Renzo_Guevara on Instagram, the word grow. And I'll send you all the details to see if we could help in the first place.
That's fucking awesome, man. So you're still doing this free class, and like you'll teach everything that you just taught me, but I can ask you questions live?
Yeah, at the very end.
That's money. You heard it here first, people. Renzo Guevara on Instagram. DM him the word cash if you want to join his free class. And if you're a little bit more progressed, DM him the word grow, and he'll help you do exactly that. Renzo, I couldn't appreciate you more for coming on and giving out all this free game. Honestly, I would pay you thousands for what you just gave me. And like I said, it almost makes me want to start my own agency too. So
cool.
Thank you so much, my brother. I appreciate it. And I know they will too. So thanks again, my man.
Oh, yeah.